Survivor Palau is generally viewed as a great old school season side by side with Pearl Islands, and also the end and beginning of an era in many ways. It contains new twists, some that still persist to this day, balanced with the fact that this is the last season with no hidden immunity idols and the only season without a merge. This makes it stand tall amongst the slew of seasons to come that all kind of blend in together. But is it good? Let's find out. Very quickly, I want to thank you for watching what I make and ultimately supporting what I do here with liking, commenting, and sharing. For only a few bucks a month on Patreon, you can pick what videos I make, watch all of this channel's content early, chat with other fans of the show, and even get exclusive videos every month. Thank you for your support.
39 days, 20 people, 1 survivor.
Number 1, the thematic twist. Despite the fact that there has been a strong thematic twist for the last 4 seasons, here it is toned down considerably, though it is still present. War is the backdrop to this season, but despite war being the backdrop, and this is not the show's fault that this occurs, but it really feels more like we have a professional sports team facing off against a high school sports team when it comes to challenges, and less like 2 warring countries just going at it. There are relics of war all over the place, including sunken ships, anti-air guns, and tanks. The rewards, challenges, buffs, and even the tribal council set embrace the military theme as well, with things like MREs, aka meals ready to eat, that are guaranteed to make you need to go to the bathroom. Trust me, I had a few while I was in the Navy. And an ammo box being used as the voting urn. Unfortunately, it feels like in some ways the season doesn't drench itself in this theme like it could have, and like we saw it do previously in Pearl Islands. The music, while good, doesn't conjure up thoughts of war or even the military. Another missed opportunity was when the Palau fishermen came out and they were just locals and not anyone from an actual military like we saw in Thailand, for example, and that wasn't even a season based on war. Little things like this hold it back from being all it can be, but it is here, it is present, and it is nice. So the thematic twist scores a 6 out of 10. Number 2, production quality. If only this season had been shot in HD. I've done some color grading to the footage you are seeing here in order to boost the beauty of this location, but standard definition does it no favors, which is just a shame given how cool Palau looks. Frankly, staring at those crystal blue waters makes me want to go and visit. And the challenges this season were top notch, but not balanced at all. Survivor has improved a lot on this since the earlier seasons though, so progress is being made, but it feels like this season really favored more and more physical challenges, which of course favor certain body types and of course in general males. Challenges should typically be able to be won by almost anyone, especially when it gets individual, but here that's not the case. Exile Island, while introduced here, was kind of just meh. The fire making duel between Bobby John and Stephanie was a bit anticlimactic, but when Ian and Jen did it, the way they implemented it did improve. It's not perfect, but it got better. The biggest hit and the biggest miss of this season is by far the editing. To be fair though, to the editors, they were kind of hamstrung by what happened. I can't blame them for what happened, but it does affect the storytelling, because here we have a tale of 2 seasons. The first season starts with episode 1 and ends with episode 11 as we see this slow moving train wreck of a tribe get eliminated one by one, and it never relents. And once Stephanie goes to Koror in episode 9, the storyline is still largely centered on her, though thankfully we do get more of Koror. This would have been great had she reached the end or even won, but she doesn't. She just gets eliminated in episode 11. And while this first quote-unquote season plays out beautifully upon a first-time viewing, it is a bit boring to watch when you are doing a rewatch. There's really no intrigue with Ulong getting decimated. It's a slow-moving train wreck that kind of overstays its welcome. You just wish it would just fall off the track at some point so we can move along. But this is what makes episodes 12 through 14 feel like a whole new season, and rightfully so. When Stephanie leaves, the game changes and becomes really cutthroat, and the storytelling becomes fascinating to watch. These episodes make the season land on its feet and make a rewatch worth it. I generally think this is why this season feels so good when you're done, because holy cow, that was crazy. It kind of makes me long for an alternate cut of Palau that shows more Koror in the first part of the season, so the payoff of the last 3 episodes is even grander, but I cannot turn back time and make that happen, so the production quality scores a 7 out of 10. Number 3, strategic play. Once again, a tale of two tribes. Ulong plays Survivor like this is season 1 or 2. Very basic reasons are utilized to vote most members out, hardly any alliances are made, and frankly, you could have told me that no one on this tribe had seen Survivor before, and I would have believed you just based on the gameplay we see on our screens. It is super basic, which is why rewatching the season is harder to do when focusing on Ulong. However, Koror is a different beast altogether. They are cutthroat, mischievous, backstabbing, and frankly, fun. If Ulong played Survivor like Koror played Survivor, this season could have been argued to be one of the best of all time, if not the best. The mixture of personalities and approaches to how to play on Koror are intriguing, and everyone seems to have different goals and ways they want to do things. Tom wants to play an honorable game where he only lies if he needs to, though frankly he lies a lot more than he needs to. Ian wants to be fun, lovable, and get to the end and just being a good guy, but then gets caught up in this massive moral conundrum. Katie came to snap necks and cash checks, and while also being very hypocritical, it's fascinating. Greg is actually possibly playing the best textbook game of Survivor out there, as it's very by the books, but sets a good example of what you would normally do in a given situation. Jen is playing under the radar and kind of hiding behind Greg. It reminds me a bit of Amber in All Stars. Karen is being a lone wolf who blows up everyone's plans when she feels like it, which is a lot more than she probably should, but man, it makes for good TV. Essentially, she's a wild card. Janu is sick and basically doesn't care about being there at all. Kobe is a classic villain who hates Tom's guts, and Willard looks like the immunity idol. All in all, Koror makes the strategic game fun, and due to them saving the day in this category, strategic play gets a 7 out of 10. Number 4, the characters. I have kind of touched on this with the strategic play, so I won't be rehashing a lot of what I think about the Koror tribe. Just know that they are great, and almost every scene with them is a breath of fresh air. Now for Ulong, it's kind of a crazy mix as well, but most of the interesting characters are eliminated far too soon in my opinion. For example, Wanda. She sings her way into all of our hearts and yet annoys the living snot out of everyone else in the show, but it's so amazing.
We're gonna build a fort gladly. We are survivors! Survivors! We're going to be the survivors. We've got the energy, and heroes we will be again. Have a good one, guys.
Yolanda is loud and demanding, and frankly, she would grate on my nerves had she made it too far in the show, but in this case, she goes way too soon. Angie is this kick-butt underdog who always feels on the outs, but along the way throughout the season, people learn to accept her and realize, dang, this girl can do a lot more than I thought she could originally. But because of Ulong's failure to actually win an immunity challenge, she has gone far too soon. James is a one-liner machine, and frankly, I think he might be a bit controversial. Some people love him, some people hate him. He is funny, but he is sexist. Bobby John is almost split personalities, where he is a hardworking gentleman at camp, but then in the challenges becomes like this crazy Tarzan. It's wild. And Stephanie is the role model of not quitting and having perseverance in even the toughest of circumstances. Everyone else from this tribe is a dud, and there are stretches of time where Stephanie and Bobby John are boring and one-dimensional, which hurts since we spend the most time with them out of everyone in this tribe. But Koror is loaded with interesting characters, and Ulong has 4 duds out of 9 people, which is not too bad. So since the characters are so important to any season, their scores get twice the weight, and the characters here score a 9 out of 10. Number 5, the winner. For once, a challenge beast has won the game. Sure, Jenna Maraska was a challenge beast on paper, but it is clear that Tom Westman is the perfect example of the strategy, and here is why. Out of 14 episodes, he was only eligible to be voted out at 3 tribal councils, and one of those was forced on Koror by a double tribal council twist that they had no power over. Another one was the obvious Stephanie vote off, where he wasn't going to get votes. And the last tribal council where he was eligible to be voted out at was really the only one he had to save himself in a social manner. But he had come so close to winning the challenge. He came in 2nd place, so he could have been immune. He was just that close. Otherwise, he was pretty much immune all game. The target on his back was almost non-existent until Stephanie goes home, but after that, he needed to win, and he did. The look of disgust on everyone's face when he wins the final 4 immunity challenge is so So satisfying. While Tom did his best to play a noble game, he lied. Oh yes, he lied. His villainous moments are by far what makes his game that much more intriguing, like when he makes up a story about Karen at Tribal Council that I didn't even know if it was true, so I had to rewind the episode, go back to the situation he's referring, and watch it and realize, holy crap, he's just making stuff up. But he's saying it in such a convincing manner at Tribal Council, you're like, Karen's probably the one lying. There's no way Tom's lying, but he is. It's really a work of art. He has a solid final Tribal Council performance where he takes the right approach of telling everyone what they want to hear, whether it's true or untrue. Now, it wasn't showy or flashy like Chris Doherty, so I don't like it as much, but it is certainly textbook. I know a lot of fans consider what Tom did to Ian to be unfair, and I am personally conflicted on the matter. On one hand, I 100% understand his mindset. Here's this guy who has built a close bond with for 38 days. And he finds out that right after he says, I'm gonna stay true to Ian, I'm not gonna eliminate him even though it would be easy and would make my game better, and realizes, oh, Ian was gonna eliminate me if I didn't win immunity. Holy crap, I thought we had a deal. Sure, he expects this behavior from Katie, but not from Ian. Then all he wants from Ian is honesty. I think Tom would have still been hurt, but more willing to accept what Ian had planned to do if he was honest from top to bottom when Tom found out. But Ian wasn't. Then again, if you want to take Ian's side, you can ask, why does this matter so much to Tom? Either way, it is intriguing, and it is yet another reason Tom makes for a satisfying winner. So for me, he garners a 10 out of 10 for his gameplay and story in Palau. Should you watch Survivor Palau? Absolutely. It's really two different experiences to be sure. The first time watching the Ulong train wreck and Stephanie persevering is must-see TV. Anytime you see Koror on screen, they are gold. The strategy is great in the last few episodes, but be warned, it is fairly basic for large stretches of time. It is by far the characters and great challenges that carry a good stretch of the season. This is the last pure social season of Survivor, and I would cherish that if I were you. Taking all of the scores, adding them up, and averaging them out, Survivor Palau's overall score is an 8 out of 10. Tune in next time as we kick off Survivor Guatemala. Thanks for watching, and if you like the content you see here, then please consider supporting me and this channel on Patreon. Your financial support makes all this possible, so thank you, and thank you for watching.